Social listening could have saved Youthforia from a major PR disaster, a neutral 15 shade range, skincare benefits, and even a Shark Tank deal with Mark Cuban. But one TikTok video from a beauty influencer turned their product launch upside down. So what went wrong? We'll get into that in a minute, but first we're answering 5 burning questions that will help you understand what social listening is and how to get started. So what exactly is social listening? Simple terms, it's a strategic approach to monitor online conversation. Not just about your brand, but about your industry, about your competitors, about your audience, not just about who's talking about us, but understanding the why they're talking and what that means for your strategy as well. Let's get into the burning questions. Why can't you just monitor mentions? Wondering, well, I already monitor brand mentions, so why do I need to start social listening? Brand monitoring is very important, but it's just the start. Think of it this way. Brand monitoring is like waiting for someone to knock on your door, and you only respond when someone shows up and talks directly to you, right? While social listening is like eavesdropping at the neighborhood barbecue, you're catching up the gossip, the compliments, or the complaints, even if they're not talking to you directly. Let's say you manage a chain of coffee shops. Through brand monitoring, you catch someone tweeting, "I loved this matcha latte at Brass Monkey." But through social listening, you'll notice people in your city complaining, "Why is it so hard to find a quiet cafe with a reliable Wi-Fi connection?" Now you've got an insight that you can use, and this is where the magic happens. When you start asking the right questions that will shape your contents and your strategies. How do we position ourselves as the go-to cafe for remote workers? Are there any trending TikToks or reels that you can jump on to show that your cafe is the solution? Once you start thinking like this, you're not just guessing, you're building content that actually speaks to what your audience actually wants. How do I know which trends are worth jumping on? I want you to take a second to say this with me. I do not need to jump on every single trend. I know social media moves very fast, and if you're not paying attention, it's super easy to get swept up in every trend that pops up. But just because a trend is popular, it doesn't mean that it's right for your brand. So you need to ask yourself, does this trend align with our voice, our audience, our goals? Take a second to gut check it. Take the blue eyes finance guy trend that went viral on TikTok last year. If you're a day app or a skincare brand, you can probably write that trend in a way that's playful and relevant. Now, if you're a B2B company selling supply chain software, maybe not. Or at least not unless you have a really clever angle that ties it back to your audience. The point is, trends should serve your strategy, not distract from it. And now that you've been listening, you're probably wondering, what do you do with these insights? Well, that's where the conversation loop strategy comes in. The idea is very, very simple. To take what your audience is already talking about and turn that into content that actually connects with your audience. Think of it like hearing a catchy tune on the radio and then remixing it into something fresh and exciting, something your audience will want to dance to and share with your friends. Ben & Jerry's does this very well, and I'll talk you through how they use social listening to help shape the messaging of one of the ice creams. But here's how the conversation loop strategy works. First step is you want to start with what's going on right now with your audience. Before you jump into the insight, you want to ask yourself, are they frustrated by something? Are they asking the same question over and over and over again? This is the moment where you figure out their minds and understand what's your audience's biggest pain point. Now, the second step is to deliver that moment. I don't know how to say it. Not thinking about the pain point. You want to hit them with the solution. What's the one thing that your audience needs to hear? The goal here is to simplify your messaging and make sure it directly solves the problem your audience is facing right now. The third step is to make it easy to share. Once you hone in on that insight, it's time to amplify it. People are more likely to share your content if it feels relatable, something that clicks with their own lived experiences. So your goal is to tap into what resonates emotionally, whether it's a relatable meme, an infographic, a quick bite-sized tip. You want to make sure your audience sees it as a must-share moment with their audience. And this is where social listening efforts really start paying off, because you're creating content that is so aligned with their needs that they can't help but share it. Now, the fourth and final step is tie it into something real or that's happening at the moment. So do a little bit of research and understand, is there any trend happening in your industry? Is there a big news story you can tap into? Let me give you the Ben & Jerry example as I promised at the beginning. So let's say you're a brand like Ben & Jerry's, you sell ice cream, you're used to running big campaigns on summer because, well, it's summer, people eat ice cream. But then your team starts noticing something weird. Social ads are actually getting more traction during the winter months. At first, it doesn't add up, but then you do a little digging and you realize something. People are not giving up ice cream during winter times. They're just enjoying it differently. So what do? You link into it and you launch a new flavor, Netflix and chill, peanut butter ice cream filled with pretzels and fudge brownies. And how do you promote it? You ride the wave of Netflix and chill cultural moment that was everywhere at the time. So I want you to remember that social listening isn't about guessing what your audience wants, but it's about hearing what they're already saying and turn that into content that actually resonates with them. It's about creating that loop of listening, learn, create, repeat. Burning question number 4 is, how do you start social media listening? First, you want to pick a tool that does all the heavy lifting. No one has time to scroll through endless of mentions. And to be honest, you shouldn't have to. The key is to choose one that aligns with your goals. Like for example, EmbedSocial is built for scale. So it's a social listening tool designed specifically for agencies managing multiple client accounts or for big brands that handle millions of mentions daily. The second step is you don't need to track every mention under the sun. You need to track the right things. You want to focus on what matters. Think about your product name, your competitors' names, industry terms. So you want a mix of direct mentions and they're talking about you but not tagging your moments. Then the third step is to spot the pain points. What is bugging your audience? What are they struggling with? And use that to fix the problems. Are they on X tweeting about how their parcel is always late, it's never delivered on time? So you want to make sure that you're on top of those pain points and you want to address them quickly, either with your team or creating content and campaigns around that specific pain point. Now, the last thing you want to do is jump into conversations. People are always asking for recommendations, whether it's on Facebook groups, industry Slack channels, Reddit. You come across a comment that says, does anyone know a tool that will help me manage multiple Google business profiles? That's your moment. That's when you want to jump in a conversation, offer value, but you don't want to come across too salesy. You just want to be there for them, understand their pain points, and then if it makes sense, you can mention what you do and your brand. Now, burning question number 5, could social listening have saved Youthforia? Before buying a product, you probably done this as well. You check TikTok reviews, Instagram. People turn to social media platforms, especially Gen Z, who now prefer over the traditional search engines like Google. This shift is called social search. For platforms like TikTok or Instagram serve as go-to sources for product discovery. Even brands that are very successful or can miss the mark in understanding social media's role. Take Youthforia, for example. Despite having a very successful Shark Tank deal with Mark Cuban, they're handling of inclusivity in the launch of the Date Night Tin Skin Foundation sparked major backlash. The brand aimed for neutral shades, but with only 15 options, it fell short of the expectation, especially in the beauty industry where consumers are expecting that I Princess Beauty's 50 Shades. So when influencer Gloria George reviewed the darkest shades, it didn't match well. A video which went absolutely viral sparked a series of apologies from brand owners despite claiming that 15 shades were a proof of concept. That really didn't sit well with the customers. And even after Youthforia expanded their shade range, subsequent launch brought in even more criticism, with some shades being labeled tarry waddle. The PR nightmare continued, but this story teaches a build brand can avoid similar pitfalls and nightmares by embracing social media listening. If you're ready to scale your social listening strategy, check out EmbedSocial. I'll leave the link below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.